is not a presidential campaign ad. It is an ad in the Senate race in Arkansas, where Republican Senator John Boozman is running for re-election. Democrat Connor Eldridge is now running this ad in the hopes of turning John Boozman into a Trump Republican.
She ate like a pig. I'd look her right in that fat, ugly face of hers. He once sent her a picture of herself with the words, "The face of a dog," written on it. The boob job is terrible. You know, they look like two light posts coming out of a body. Blood coming out of her, wherever. So you treat women with respect. I can't say that either.
I'll support the candidate regardless of who we pick, whether Donald Trump. It certainly would be a lot better presidency.
Joining us now, Liz Mayer, founder of the anti-Trump super PAC Make America Awesome. Also with us is Howard Dean, MSNBC political analyst and a former DNC chairman who has endorsed Hillary Clinton for president. Liz Mayer, so there it is. What Rick Wilson was telling us was going to happen is already happening.
Right.
The labeling of Senate candidates, certainly House candidates, Republican candidates everywhere, down to, you know, city council of labeling them as Trump Republicans.
Right. I mean, this is something that I think that, Rick does work with our PAC also, and it's something that really everybody who's involved with our super PAC has foreseen for a long time. You know, it's hard to be specific about exactly how bad the damage will be down ballot if we do nominate Donald Trump, but it is very clear that there is going to be substantial carnage and that we are going to have a lot of attack ads run against candidates that are going to be more brutal, far more credible from a sort of war on women standpoint than really anything that we've seen recently. And I think it's going to be pretty rough for people. This is one of the reasons that I think you hear people from places like the Club for Growth talking a lot about the need to focus on down ballot races if Trump does get the nomination, because frankly, it is going to be carnage in a lot of places, I think.
And what's so extraordinary about this is all you have to do, it's the standard for becoming a Trump Republican, is to simply support the Republican nominee for president.
Right.
Now, John McCain, who we know by any reasonable definition is not a Trump Republican, is subject to this. Let's look at this ad on John McCain.
Donald Trump is dangerous for America.
I could stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody and I wouldn't lose any voters, okay? I would bring back a hell of a lot worse than waterboarding.
But no matter what Donald Trump says, John McCain would support him for president.
Including Donald Trump, you would support him?
She said he's a I'd like to punch him in the face, I'll tell you.
Donald Trump.
30 years in Washington have changed John McCain. We need leaders to stand up to Donald Trump.
I'm Ann Kirkpatrick, and I approve this message.
And Howard Dean, Ann Kirkpatrick is running tied in the polls with John McCain at 42-42 at this point.
The irony of this is that John McCain by Arizona standards is a moderate and has often been challenged from the right. Now he's getting hammered because apparently he's not right enough. But this is extraordinary. Now, he's been there a very long time, and voters get tired of people who have been there for a very long time. But this actually could end John McCain's career.
But Liz, John McCain, at some point, if this continues, is simply going to have to come out or have to make the decision about, do I come out and say, I am not supporting the Republican nominee for president?
Yeah, I assume that may be where this is going. I mean, it's very hard to say definitively. I have no inside knowledge as to John McCain's thought process, but I will say that having worked to elect him in 2008 when Howard was chairing the DNC, I certainly do think that there are a lot of areas where John McCain has deep policy disagreements with Donald Trump, and where it would be very hard for him to say anything that would be in any way defensive of Donald Trump. And so I think that sort of distinguishing may happen as a matter of course. I think with other people, that's going to be a different equation. You know, as you talked about in the previous segment, obviously Donald Trump did win a lot of states in the South, including Tennessee. So I think if you're looking at people in Tennessee, probably their calculation is going to be a little different. But I think for people who come from, you know, a lot of Mountain West and Midwest states, states where perhaps Ted Cruz has performed a little better or other candidates have performed a little better. I think that they know already from looking at the primary and the caucus results that Donald Trump is a liability, and there's going to be more of an impetus for them to walk away from him.
So, Howard Dean, part of Paul Manafort's answer to this for the Trump campaign is yesterday on Sunday Morning TV saying, oh, don't worry, Trump's going to help raise a lot of money for the party, and maybe lost in that is the sleight of hand that will really totally eliminate any claim that Donald Trump is self-financing, because he cannot afford a general election campaign, and he will be raising money for himself as well as the party. But Howard Dean, raising money for the party isn't easy. You have to know how to do it.
Yeah, I think that's going to be very tough, because most of the people with lots and lots of money who support Republicans are probably going to invest in the Senate heavily. They are going to figure that if Trump is going to lose the presidency, that they need the Senate as an insurance policy. Liz is more of an expert on Republican politics than I am. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with that. And to be fair, myself as a donor, I have a history of investing in specific candidates that I like as opposed to committees. But certainly there are a lot of people that I talk to who are bigger donors who have flat out said that if Donald Trump is the nominee, they will not vote. They will not donate to the Republican National Committee. They will not donate to his presidential campaign. They will not donate to any committee that is focused on the presidential level whatsoever. Maybe they'll donate to the NRSC. Maybe they'll donate to the NRCC. But certainly nothing's going into the Republican National Committee if they remain focused on the presidential race, and nothing will be going into Donald Trump's campaign. And I think that that's actually one of the factors that, as Ted Cruz is going around and recruiting delegates and focusing on the delegate count, that's actually one of the factors that is very persuasive in Ted Cruz's favor. For as much as there are a lot of establishment people who don't love him, he's still seen as much better than Trump from a financial perspective.
But you got a big problem, because if Trump gets 1,200 delegates and not to 1,237, and you don't give him the nomination, there's going to be a huge revolution at the convention.
I think candidly, even if Donald Trump were walking into that convention with 500 delegates, we would have carnage in the streets, and we would have blood in the streets, because he would incite it. I honestly think that.
It's a pick your poison convention. Liz Mayer and Howard Dean.
Yeah, it's going to suck.
Thank you both very much for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Lauren.